Okay, today we are going to pick up where we left off on the trim. We have one cabinet left to trim, and then we have the countertop to trim. I think we'll do that the last thing. So we are going to probably do a 3-point miter in here. So none of my tools will cut an exact line, so we're going to have to mark some lines, cut to it, sand it a little bit to make them fit just right. But I'm used to that, so that's how we're going to do it. We're going to get our pieces up here, put those in, mark under here, and then figure out where we're going to put our miter, and then we will start fitting pieces in. We'll get the two face pieces on, then we'll get the two side pieces here on, and then the last piece will be the face piece that we'll put on here, and hopefully everything fits real nice and tight and snug, and all the lines meet and good stuff. So that's what we're going to do. Let me go ahead and start by getting one piece up here. And what we're going to do is mark the bottom of our cabinet in here. So with my lines here, I'm just going to be able to go from the center and put my miter marks and cut those and put those on. Alright, so we have two pieces cut. We have one for the face. Goes like that. And then we have one here for the edge, which is going to go in here just like that. And I think that gives a nice edge. I like it. I like it a lot. Yes. Alright. So now that I'm happy that my front pieces are mitered and my side pieces are mitered and fit very well, we're going to go ahead and countersink our holes, go ahead and get those fastened on, and then we will attach the face. We'll go ahead and get it marked and mitered. That'll be the last piece that we put on, and hopefully everything fits real nice and tight. So I'm liking the way it's working out. The corners are a lot squarer than I thought they would be, and see, that went pretty fast. So let's go ahead and get some holes drilled. We'll get those attached, and then we'll do the front piece. We'll call that part done. So I did do a little shopping today. Went to Harbor Freight, and just for the little job that I'm doing, I needed a new square, a new T-square. Believe it or not, I've had the one that I had for 25 years, maybe 25 plus, and I think I've worn it out. It doesn't stay square any longer, and well, I needed another one, and I needed something to get me by today. I happen to be at Harbor Freight. I will probably invest in a more expensive one, but this will get me by. It probably won't last me 25-30 years, and I also got the smaller one that you saw me use when I was doing the miter, and surprisingly it's actually spot on. So that worked. I think that'll be a little tool that'll come in handy. And now that we're getting ready to install our pieces, I also purchased a little countersink. I've got countersinks all over the place, you know, and never had a place for all of them, so every time I need a countersink I have to hunt through stuff. So Harbor Freight, neat little tools. I think that was $8, and if it lasts me through this job, money well worth spent. So shopping's fun, tools are great, so if you take care of them, they will last you for a while. So let me go ahead and get set up. I need to mark where I'm going to put my holes. All of them will have the same dimensions, so they all look pretty uniform. I'm kind of like that. I just don't tap holes, so I want to make sure they're all in the right spot on each of them. So, and then we'll set up our drill press. We'll punch some holes. We'll get them in here, pre-drill some holes, and get those attached with our brass screws. Then we'll continue on with the face. Good stuff. So now that we have all of our holes drilled, we're going to go ahead and install these, put them in place, and pre-drill our hole. Install our screws. Perfect. I think that looks good. Nice and flush. Now we'll install the rest of them, and then we'll work on the front. Alright, so we got these three pieces installed and looking good. Now we'll finish the other side, and this part will be done. Alright, two pieces left. We'll get this one up here. Oh, fits like a glove. We'll get those drilled, tap those in. Alright, one piece left. Oh, like a glove. Gorgeous. Simply gorgeous. So now we have our trim on the face of our cabinet. And not a bad fit. Not a bad fit at all. Alright, and the part that will keep me up at night is this piece here. So I'm going to cut a piece, get that fit and fastened on, and that cabinet will be done. So cool. Now we have that finished. You know, a guy who is really good at trim work would probably sand everything down and make sure it's all nice and smooth, but I'm not really into the finish work. I love building stuff, but I get too impatient for the finish work. I did get my piece back here, so that's cool. So now I've got all that set up. Alright, the next part is going to be the countertop. So I do have a piece of trim that I'll be putting around this edge. We'll miter the corner, come around this edge. But I think what I'm going to do is I want to remove the counter and pre-drill all my holes in my top braces so I can attach the countertop. We'll get the countertop attached, and then we'll go ahead and start for the trim there. Then when that's done, we get to do the good stuff. So we're going to get ready to fasten down the sink and put our trim around there. But there's a couple of things I want to do first, and I'll give you a shot of that before we get this thing fastened down, and then we can move on to some other good stuff. So what I'm going to use to fasten the counter down with is some number 12 wood screws. They're 1.25 inches long. I'm going to be going through some 3/4 inch sticks here, and then we're going to go into our countertop. So I have my screw, and then I've got these nice hard plastic washers that are recessed, and they'll go just like this from underneath, and that way I'm not burying the head of the screw into the wood. So that's what I'm going to use to fasten the counter down with. But before I fasten the counter down, I'm going to go ahead and remove the countertop, and on my sticks where I'm going to be fastening down, I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill my holes, so when I put the countertop in, I can countersink, or drill a pilot hole for my screws, and that'll fasten that down. Also here on the side, I want to have an outlet. That way, if I have a coffee maker or a little induction top stove, I'll be able to plug it in. And for that, I am using an RV receptacle. It's a little plastic rinky-dink thing, and the only reason I'm going with that is because I have no backing here. I'm not going to put a box on it, and these have a little little way of securing. Let's see if I can't get this down like that. So these screws you tighten up, and that'll pull and hold it into the side of the cabinet, just like so. And then I've got a little cover that snaps on that, and we can call that good. And for that, I'm going to use some 12-2 Romex wiring. That's what they recommend using on these outlets. And we're going to go from there underneath our cabinet here, and I'm going to trade out that receptacle that I have in here for another GFCI, because I'll be running power to here, and I just like the idea of them. I like the GFCIs, they work pretty decent. And a couple little fittings for that, and some ground wire that I can use to pigtail. Also, we will be putting some cork. This is self-adhesive cork, and I'm going to line the outside of my sink with that, so you don't have that tinny sound. That is a tip from Ernesto. Ernesto, I listened to you, buddy. We're going to put that on the sink underneath. Hopefully It cuts down on that little ringing noise. Alright, so we've got our material. Now we're going to remove the countertop and get ready to install all this stuff, and then we'll work on the trim around the counter and we'll be done with that part. The only trim that's left will be for the face of the microwave and refrigerator. So for my sink, I am going to just cut a couple inch squares and just start putting them around the sink, and we'll see how well that quiets that down once everything is installed. And there it is. Not the prettiest looking thing, but it's under the counter, and I think it works pretty good. So that should quiet down a little bit of the tinny sound. Thanks, Ernesto. Okay, now we are ready to install the countertop. So, got my drill bit ready. I marked back about 1 inch, put a piece of tape. That lets me know when I drill under, I'm not going to drill through the countertop. That wouldn't be good. So I have the first 2 screws in, which I'm now fastening the countertop down, so I've got a nice tight fit. Yes, I think that's going to work great. Okay, I'll go ahead and drill and screw the rest of them, and we'll be done with the countertop. Okay, so the countertop is fastened, sink is nice and quiet, and now we are ready to put our last bit of trim around the countertop. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we have the first piece installed and flush with the top, and some screws there, and then for our corner, nice and mitered. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and fasten the front piece, and then we'll worry about the side piece last. Alright, so it's coming along quite nicely. So I have this side piece on, and now I have this front piece on, and I'm very well happy with it. So now we've got one piece left. That will complete installing the countertop, and then I'll have to get some more trim for around the edge here, and then that will complete all of the trim. Okay, so we have the trim around our countertop finished, and it looks pretty good. I am pleased with it. So I probably could sand a little bit on the corners just to make those a little rounded so they're not so sharp. Other than that, it's nice and quiet. That little trick there, Ernesto, about putting on the cork around that worked out really well. So it's nice and quiet. So the next thing we have is the trim around the front, and all the trim is complete. So next, I think what I'll do is I'll start on probably the next video. Will be installing the outlet on the other side, replacing the outlet down here with the GFCI, and then we should have all of our parts that we can begin the installation of the Xantrex inverter and the PowerMax converter, and we'll get those up and running, do a test, and make sure everything is functioning properly. And not sure where to go after that. I'll have to check my list. So let me give you a shot of what we did today, and we'll call that a wrap for this video. So we cut and mitered our oak trim, and got the corners nice and tight. I like that, and fastened those with our brass screws. And I debated whether or not to have the screw heads showing, or plug them and sand them off, or but if I ever have to remove the countertop, I want to make it easy, so this is the best way that I thought about doing, and it looks good to me. So that works. And then here's our other corner. I was a little bit short on the end here, so I had to fudge and put a piece. So I will probably replace this piece in the future, so it's just one long piece, because my OCD will tell me, hey, that doesn't look good. So if it doesn't look good to me, I'm thinking it doesn't look good to somebody else. So, and then of course once I completed with the counter and get all the trim, then I cleaned up. I put all my tools away and I vacuumed and made it look nice and neat again, with the exception of the parts that I'm going to lay out for my next task. So today's been a very nice day. It has been 58 degrees and man, weather's getting nice and I'm just about ready to go. So if you haven't started on your project, you're a day late and a dollar short. So get out there, get off the couch, get out there and do something, build something. Remember, if you get an idea, you got to do it, or you talk yourself out of it. So with that, I'm just going to call this video a wrap and say thanks for tuning in and watching, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think. So until next time, stay tuned.